Hello and welcome to a special video about the Edinburgh International Film Festival. A brief confession before I start, I'd actually forgotten all about the film festival. It's been going on for 70 years and I've lived in Edinburgh for almost 15. I have no excuse for forgetting about it except that I have other stuff going on in my life. You're not the boss of me, so give me some fucking space. Nonetheless, I managed to see half a dozen films this year, so let's dive straight into them. First of all, a film called Shepherd and Butchers. This is a South African film set in 1987 because, honestly, if you're going to bring a piece of fiction to an arts festival from South Africa, it had damn well better be set during the apartheid years, otherwise I think you get thrown out of some sort of discerning body of pretentious people. Joking aside, it tells the true story of a young white man who, at the age of 17, on his first day of work at a prison, has to assist in the hanging of half a dozen men. After 2 years on gallows duty, which meant living with the condemned, escorting them everywhere, meeting their families, and then walking them to the noose, he has an episode and kills 7 strangers one night on the way home. The film is mostly set in a courtroom and revolves around the decision of whether or not he was fully in control of his actions, or if the stress of spending almost every waking moment with a human being whom you are fated to assist in killing might constitute extenuating circumstances. This is a powerful and well-made film, and it's mercifully light on incidental music as well. What music the director does use is not put in there in lieu of technical skill. In fact, the use of the sound is to draw you in, especially in a few key scenes, and it has a wonderful payoff at the end which ties back into the plot very nicely. The acting is very good across the board, especially Steve Coogan in a rare dramatic role. Gary Dowds plays the young prison guard, and his performance is one of the highlights. He reminds me very much of Tim Robbins in The Shawshank Redemption. The characters are very different, but Dowds has a way of using silence to make a statement. Next up was Picadero, a film made in and in the language of the Basque region of Spain, written and directed by a Scotsman. It tells the story of a young couple, Gorka and Annie, in a new relationship, and since they both still live with their parents, their attempt to find somewhere to consummate it. Picadero is apparently a Basque slang for a public place used for a sexual encounter. Now, this film was billed as a romantic comedy. It's not. It's about a young couple, and there are funny moments in it, but it is very much an art film, and you should hear the inverted commas clanging into place there. This essentially means it is quite boring. Joseba, let's see if I can get this right. Joseba Usabiago as Gorka, the male lead, is especially tedious. He plays everything as though he can't work up any enthusiasm, and since the film is about an attractive young woman who is desperate to tear his clothes off, that's a little insulting. The female lead is played by Barbara Genaga, and to be fair, she gives a much better, more nuanced performance. The cinematography and the pacing is what really lets the film down. I understand the director was looking to make a film about stagnation and dullness, but I think he's done his job a little too well. This is a shame because there is a lovely, quirky sense of humour hidden inside the film. The laughs are there and they come from very unexpected places. It's just a shame that there aren't more of them. The film can really be summed up in one scene in a quiet moment where Anne asks Gorka how he feels about her, and I can see why she did, because after 2 hours I had no idea how he felt about her, or about anything else for that matter. On Thursday I went to see a film called Mojin, the Lost Legend, which is a Chinese language film based on a popular Chinese novel. It's about a trio of grave robbers in China in 1989 and plays very much like a Chinese Tomb Raider, I think. I say I think because the subtitles in this were quite badly done. Either they went by in a flash before I had a chance to read them, or the grammar was a mess, or I suspect they were just plain wrong. Either that or it's a difference in cultures that makes the emotional reactions in the film seem very, very odd to a Westerner. That said, I certainly wasn't bored. I could tell from just how fabulous and over the top the opening credits were that I wasn't going to be bored. And this is in spite of quite a few passages which are just long stretches of exposition. Including prolonged flashback to a section where, as far as I could make out, there were school children destroying statuary in the name of and for the glory of Chairman Mao. Previously, any Chinese action film would have solid, dependable camera work that allowed you to see what was going on. not in this film sadly. It seems like the attention deficit editing that Hollywood has been inflicting on audiences has now made it to China, and the fight scenes in this are not as clear or graceful as we would usually expect, though they are still better than what Hollywood has churned out in recent years. Friday, I went to see a film called Shadow World. It's a documentary about the arms trade, and having gone to see it the day my country chose to leave the EU was perhaps not wise. It certainly didn't help to abate my anger any. The film is not really what I would call an eye-opener. It comes as no real surprise to find out that the arms industry is full of morally reprehensible people. They do make their money out of death. Having said that, there were a few points that were new. I hadn't realised the mechanics of how backhanders were handed out, or the sheer scale of bribes being handed to people who were simply the middlemen. Although a thought did occur to me while watching this film. Now, I don't want to give anyone any ideas, but a lot of the arms seem to be traded to the Saudi royal family, who are the richest family in the world. Now, considering there's a lot of hassle going to grease people's palms and to get the weapons to where they want them to go, could they not just build their own munitions factory and be done with the whole thing? An incredibly pious family, and I can only imagine how sore it was a trial for them to suffer such lavish parties with expensive champagne and hot and cold running prostitutes. It just shows how devout they truly are that they were willing to suffer such indignities in the aims of making their country strong. My penultimate film at the festival was a Norwegian fantasy called The Shamer's Daughter. It's about a murder in a dark and gloomy kingdom which can't be solved, and so they send for the Shamer, a woman with the power to reveal all the things that you are secretly ashamed of. Then, for reasons that I'm still a little undecided on, they send for the Shamer's daughter, and she becomes embroiled in the intrigues and alliances of the court. After watching the Warcraft movie a few weeks ago, I can say it's very nice to see a fantasy movie with virtually no CGI in it. Everything looks lived in and feels like it was made for a purpose, and not just as a prop for a film set. Although I am pretty sure I've seen most of the costumes and props for this on sale on LARP websites. Speaking of costume, I have to wonder, do all evil overlords go to the same tailor? Do they just go in and the man says to them, oh well, we need something that's really black, to really bring out your paleness and make sure everybody knows you're the villain as soon as you step into a room. Also, I am a little bit miffed that there was only one ginger person in this entire film, and he was the villain. It was the same in the latest Star Wars film. Gingers are people too. And finally, ending on a lighter note with Mr. Right, a quirky romantic action comedy starring Anna Kendrick as, well, a lunatic, and Sam Rockwell as an assassin who likes to dance. Because of course he does, he's played by Sam Rockwell, who dances in just about every film he's in. Honestly, look it up. Moon, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, Iron Man 2, Cowboys and Aliens, Charlie's Angels, Matchstick Men, Confessions of a Dangerous Mind. He always works a bit of dancing in somewhere, and I quite like it. I think it's nice. The film itself is a bit of fluff, but since it doesn't take itself seriously, I don't mind. There's comparisons with Grosse Point Blank being made, but it's not as deadpan, the humour's not as black, and the characters aren't quite as nuanced. But I still had fun watching it, and the fight scenes especially, I think, were choreographed by someone who was smiling while he did it. And that is the EIFF all wrapped up for me. As an Edinburgher, I can now look forward to a great variety of shows at the Fringe come August. For those of you who've never been to Edinburgh during the festival, try to picture hordes of zombies from Game of Thrones, but instead of trying to kill you, they're handing out flyers to a reimagining of The Taming of the Shrew, but told entirely through puppets with interminable flatulence, or whatever pretentious twaddle is playing this year. Thanks for watching.